Hello, Lisa. Delighted to be having a chat with you. Myself and Steve Evans here.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Lisa. Good to make contact with you finally. Yeah, I'm glad you got in touch, or Terry got in touch with you, so we could have this chat. And you are in Birmingham, I believe. Whereabouts?
I live not far from Hodge Hill, so it's sort of Hodge Hill area.
Right, I've got a few relatives in the Birmingham area, Great Bar, Erdington, Solihull, which is a bit further south than you, I think. But yeah,
Yeah,
so I just wondered. So is it nice and sunny there today, like it is here, or?
it is today. Yes, it was miserable. A couple of days ago we had a lot of rain, but today it seems to stay pretty clear. We've got a few grey clouds, but it's not too bad.
Excellent. That sounds good. Yeah, a bit similar to here then, to be honest. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, nice and warm. Yeah. Lisa, it's okay we split this into three main sections. We talk about your day-to-day job as a contact writer, and then talk about your music before we move on and talk about your book, the science fiction story, Unprecedented Times.
Of course, yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Can you tell us, I know you got your website, what is a content writer? Is this for advertising agencies?
It's for a variety of different things, really. So I work mainly with website designers and developers who create websites for their clients and need content to put on those websites. So the main pages that you see and also the blog pages. But I also do things for sort of applications, so resumes, letters. So it's quite a broad a broad spectrum of writing, if you like.
Okay.
All right. Okay. And you're also into music. So tell us a bit about your music. And you've got your own YouTube channel. And on your website, there's some videos of you playing various musical instruments as well. And you've been on the BBC Sounds podcast. So go on, tell us a bit more about that.
Well, to be honest, that was just something that I started to do for fun. When I was little, I had singing lessons and piano lessons, drum lessons, and I really, really enjoyed playing music and always wanted to write a song. But I always kind of hated performing. I was always terrified of performing. So as I got a little bit older and started to think, I need to be serious about my career, the musical sort of went on the back burner, and I kind of didn't do anything for years, and I'd always kind of felt like I'd left a little bit of me behind. So a couple of years ago, after I separated from my ex-husband, I just sort of decided to get back into music and to sort of rediscover that part of me that I'd sort of left behind. So I started playing again and just putting up videos mainly to sort of boost my own confidence and put myself out there in a way that I'd never have done before. And it just sort of escalated from there.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's not the same as that for everyone, is it? Most people just that would fall on its
Yeah.
backside, and it might not work, but obviously it worked for you, and you've done well out of it then. So that's all right. Yeah, that's good. It's good.
Yeah, and I've got to be honest, I have to attribute a lot to my supporters, because if it wasn't for them calling me a musician, I wouldn't have bothered to go out and actually create my own music, because the reason I did that was because I felt like a fraud, and I wanted to take that next step. And then the people that I've worked with have all made suggestions. So BBC Sounds actually came from me submitting a track to BBC Introducing and being played on their radio station twice. And I only did that because someone else said, "Oh, you should do this because it's a good idea for you." So that's really sort of driven the music, is the support that I've had from other people.
Oh, excellent. So when was it played, or what station was it played on? Do you know? Or
It was BBC Coventry in Warwickshire, and it was their
oh yeah,
BBC Introducing show that they do. So it was played one week and then the next week, and then it was added to a BBC Sounds playlist.
playlisted as well, eh? Way brilliant. That's good. It's good. Yeah.
Pretend that you know more than a friend, cause I can't comprehend why every word I say in your direction only ends on wasteland. I pretend that my heart doesn't race every time I see your face. Now I give you space because you won't reciprocate. I understand. I'm gonna miss you alone.
Claire, without spoil, I called you Clara. I'm reading
Claire?
Clara. Without spoilers, tell us about your novel, Unprecedented Times. I've read the first couple of chapters, and it's quite chilling. Clara, she's working for the World Health Organization with Dr. Vincenti, and they're getting a team of huge scientists on New Year's Eve 2019 to work on investigating an outbreak in Wuhan of an as yet unknown virus. I like the phone and the text inlays as well, the sort of the pics of the messages between Clara and her sister. You tell us more about it. It's an alternative history. What I've read so far, it looks like it's based on the facts as it happened then, but obviously I haven't gone deeper into the book.
So basically, I had the idea for this when the outbreak first happened in China, but before it had gone anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I started writing this up, and then it just so happened to follow real life. So in my book, the virus spreads around the world as it did do in real life. We all go into lockdown as we did do. So everything up until that point of us going into lockdown and it becoming a pandemic, that was also true to life, that I was able to then incorporate real statistics and make it a sort of fact meets fiction novel.
Yeah.
In my book, after it becomes a pandemic, the virus actually mutates.
Oh.
It becomes a much more lethal virus and much more contagious. And the world leaders have a decision to make. They can either do nothing and risk losing up to 75% of humanity. They can eradicate all of the people with the infection, so kill everybody, or they can extract all the infected people and put them somewhere until they sort of decide what to do. This then turns into a dystopian sort of novel thereafter. So the idea of it is an alternative history, because this is an idea of what if the virus had have mutated? What if we weren't able to control it as we were able to in real life?
Okay, I can see now why some of the reviews, they say terrifying and scary as a possibility. Can I ask you about the fundraising? 25% of the book sales go to charity. What prompted this? Has it had a major effect on your life, the coronavirus?
Not really, no. It actually ended up being 50% book sales. But basically, I'm high risk. So I've got 2 lifelong and incurable medical conditions, which means that during the pandemic, I wasn't able to go out and volunteer and do all these things that other people were doing to help the members of the community. On top of being high risk, I just had my son literally in January, and then we went straight into the pandemic, and I had 2 older daughters I was homeschooling. So volunteering wasn't something that I was able to do, but it was something that I've always wanted to do. If you look back on my website, you can see that I've done a lot of fundraising and stuff in the past. So this was when I started to write the book and actually decided to put it out there, because I'd never done that before, sort of publicised something that I'd written. Yeah. I just thought, actually, this is a good way to fundraise, because I wasn't able to do anything in the pandemic. So this can be my little way of giving back. So that was twofold. It was in part, it was the donations from the book sales, and in part, it was also the dedication section in the book. Basically, I said to people, I understand that it was difficult to grieve during lockdown. People were passing away and we weren't even able to go to funerals. So I opened the book so that the public could dedicate this book to people that they'd lost in the pandemic.
Oh, that's unusual. That's what a brilliant idea.
I know it sounds really dramatic that you've written that, and it was so close to the truth.
Yes.
But it sounds again very scary, because you've obviously developed it into a much bigger thing, and that could have been us, couldn't it? It could have been terrifying in effect.
But as I was watching the news, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I hope it doesn't follow my book any further, because I don't want to end up going there.
Wow, amazing. So is there any plans, or are you working on a part 2, part 3, a trilogy, or any further? Is it going any further, basically?
It is, yes. So Unprecedented Times is the first book in the Alternative History Trilogy. Book 2 is coming out in the next few months. I'm working on that now. So I just need to finish writing that up and get it edited and proofread and get it out to some Mark and beta readers. So I'm hoping that within the next 12 months, book 2 will be out, and then book 3 is already planned up as well. When I first had the initial idea, it was too much to fit into one book. So Unprecedented Times is literally just the first year after the pandemic, and then the next book will sort of be the year after, and then the next book will be the year after, and it all culminates into a bigger story.
Have you self-published, Lisa? Have you tried going down that route, the horrible route, torturous route of trying to connect with a traditional publisher?
To be honest, at the moment, I've just self-published. I have reached out to a couple of different literary agents to just, test the water. But this was always, it was never about writing a best-selling book, although that'd be fantastic. The idea behind this journey was simply to raise money for charity and to hopefully boost my own confidence in the process of that. And I've managed to do both of those things. So I'm not going to put any pressure on myself and, try to make this big overnight, because I think that that's very difficult to do. I'm just going to sort of keep doing what I'm doing, because I feel like I'm getting some momentum. I'm going in the right direction.
If you didn't have your hands full already, you make animated GIFs. And we've seen on your Giphy.com, Lisa Thomas author page, that you got a massive 59 million views. Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
huge, isn't it? Yeah.
That was kind of just a bit of fun. It was purely accidental. So I'd entered into a PibMad contest on Twitter, and it's a day where authors can promote their books, unpublished books that they want agents to look at and pick up. And I'd asked the writing community for support, and the response I received was overwhelming. People not only said yeah, but they were actually messaging me saying, what time are you putting out these tweets? I'll schedule my lunch break around it. I'll set an alarm so I can come on and repost for you. And because of that, all 3 of my tweets were in the top 10 of the science fiction and the dystopian genres all day. And that was thanks to the response of the writing community. And I was just totally overwhelmed. So the day after, I wanted to send out a tweet to sort of thank everybody, but it just seemed so, it didn't feel like it had enough emotion in to just say, yeah, thanks for that. So I thought I'll make them a GIF or a GIF, however you say it. So I made one, and they went totally crazy for it. And it just, because it got my website on there, I just thought, actually, this is a fun and free way to sort of market myself and just, get people to know who I am. So I created some, and then my kids were like, Mummy, that's awesome. Can we do it, please? So they created some, and theirs has just taken off. Theirs are super cute. So theirs have had more views than mine have. But yeah, we're nearly at 60 million now, and it literally was just a bit of fun. The kids are now saying they want to do another updated range, because this was like 2 or 3 years ago now. So perhaps there'll be some more in the future.
That's incredible, isn't it? What a story. Yeah, your kids are really involved and loving it as well. So it's like a fun thing. It's not, yeah, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So as well as your Giphy.com or Jiffy, whatever you want to tell it, I always call it GIF myself. But so what other social media platforms works best for you? Twitter, for example?
Yeah, I use Twitter primarily. I also use Instagram. So I've got about 7,000, nearly 8,000 followers on Instagram. I think I've got 46 on Twitter or something like that. So both of those platforms I'm doing quite well on. I'm also on TikTok, but I don't love TikTok myself. I don't enjoy using it. So I've only got a couple of hundred followers on there. It's mainly Twitter and Instagram, and then obviously Spotify and YouTube and stuff for my music.
Music, yeah, obviously, yeah, that's the ones to do. Have you used any other? It's one called Interverb Nation and a few others. Do you use any of those at all, or?
Yeah, well, I distribute my music through a company called DistroKid, and when they send it to stores, they send it to all the stores. So it's on Pandora and ones that I have never even heard of. So yeah, it's basically it's everywhere. You can't escape me.
Yeah, because there's that many. I mean, Interverb, Reverberation, whatever. There's so many, isn't there? Music. Obviously there's the main one, Spotify and Amazon. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So your Linktree website has music links for Spotify, Apple, and TikTok, etc., etc. And you got what you said, 46,000 followers on Twitter. I think that's about right. Yeah. So which one gets the most hits then, do you think? Would you say it's, well, is it Twitter?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say it's probably Twitter. Since starting my music, so I only started doing that in October last year, so it hasn't been a full year yet. But I've got about 18,000 streams throughout those months, and I've got 1,500 followers on there. So that's actually grown quite nicely in that short time frame. Twitter is probably the best. I seem to just keep getting followers quite a lot on there. So yeah, I think I would say Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you find it, Terry, as an author, that's probably the best one, don't you?
It is, yeah. Although having said that, I've probably got more followers on Twitter. Well, I have got more followers on Twitter than Facebook. But for book sales, I found that Facebook, they've got sort of niche groups. Like my novel's set in Liverpool, 1976. And there's various websites, groups in Facebook, like Chillwall of the 80s, the summer of 76, based about districts within Liverpool and about different time periods and about the 60s and 70s. Have you found that which is the best selling platform for the novel, Lisa?
I actually haven't had any sales through Facebook.
No?
And that could be perhaps because of the groups, because obviously the groups that I've joined are more generic sort of story, fiction, science fiction sort of genres. But because of the content of my book, because it was on COVID, I've also joined a couple of COVID websites, and these aren't really places where people are looking to buy necessarily. I think they're looking for more of a conversation. So I found that Facebook is fantastic for directing people back to my website, because I do have blogs that I put on my website. For example, like living through the pandemic as a high risk person and things like that, which people have been able to relate to and have found quite comforting. But in terms of book sales, I haven't had anything through Facebook, whereas I have done through Twitter.
Okay. Can I ask, you're a mum to 3 children. Have you got a team working with you to help manage the various social media? You know, there's so much going on in your life. Is it just you?
Yes, it's just me. Yeah. And it's quite exhausting. I mean, part of my content writing job is digital marketing and social media marketing. So I do have diplomas in both of these areas, which does help me in terms of knowing how to sort of attack social media and how to put myself out there and what to post and when to post and things like that. But it is very time consuming. So I just sort of do little bits as and where I can, really, and find quick wins to keep active. So on Twitter, I don't know if you've seen, I do a shameless promotion post every day. And I encourage other people to share their work, and then I go on and share that. And that's a fantastic way for me to keep my account active, to keep those tweets being pumped out there, but to also support people on social media, because I find social media is very people take a lot from it, but not many people give to it. So I always said I wanted to give back to the community as much as I could. So that was a way for me to do that, but also to keep my account active. And that for me is a quick win, because then I can just pick up my phone, sit there for half an hour, retweet all of the people who have commented on that, and then respond to a couple of other messages and go away and come back as and when I can. Because I'm self-employed, I can do my work around my kids, so I can sort of use good time management to get it all in.
Yeah. So can I just ask, what age are your kids then? They're obviously young, because you've obviously had one of them just before the pandemic, so you must have your hands full. Are they? What age are they?
They're crazy ages is what they are. So my oldest has just turned 12, but obviously she's a teenager now. She's got the attitude.
Does she not talk to you? Does she say when you ask things?
Oh yeah, no, she barely looks up at her phone anymore. I don't think she knows what I look like.
I've got 3 of them.
Dye my hair green, she wouldn't notice. So I've got she's just turned 12. Then I've got a 7-year-old who will be 8 next month, and then my little boy is 3. He will be 4 in January. So yeah, they're very active and crazy and tiring children.
Oh.
Wonderful.
Lisa, you say you're self-employed, so you manage your own time. Do you have like a time slot? You say, right, between, I don't know, 11 and 12, I'm going to be writing. 1 and 2, I'll do my social media stuff.
No, because different things take different times. So for example, if I've got a blog to write for a company, that blog could take 20 minutes, it could take 40, it could take an hour, depending on how much research and what I need to do.
Yeah.
So I use the old-fashioned method of to-do lists. So I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and then I do things that I do every single day anyway. I just slot in here and there. So with social media, that's one of my sort of filler things. So if I've dedicated the next hour and a half to writing work and I happen to finish after an hour, then I can fit in a bit of my social media then. So that's the way that I do it, is by old-fashioned to-do lists. Yep. And not letting myself get too distracted with social media, because obviously procrastination is a real danger.
Yeah, they work, don't they, the old to-do list?
They do. I love them. I think it's because I'm a writer, so I enjoy writing things down.
Okay.
Do you also do post-it notes and things like that and leave them lying on the fridge or on a cupboard somewhere? Because you're in a hurry with your kids running around, you go, oh, just note that down and slap it on the fridge, or you don't do that?
If I did that, then my kids would nick the post-it notes and I'd forget all my good ideas. No, I've got one of these, you know, the pens that have got the 4 different colours around the top.
Yeah.
I've got one of those and a notebook handy at all times, and then I put that on top of the microwave where the kids can't reach it. So whenever I've got a good idea, and depending on what idea it is, it goes in a different colour. So if it's a music idea, it'll go in blue. If it's a book idea, it'll go in pink. If it's a social media idea, it'll go in purple. So I colour code my ideas in a notebook that I then have to hide away from the children.
Well, it sounds like you've got that really well organised. And yeah, I was forgetting, of course, kids have their hands into everything, don't they? So you've got to put it out the way. You couldn't have post-it notes anywhere.
No. It's like chocolate. You have to hide the good chocolates.
Lisa, can I ask you about the mechanics of your writing? What I've read so far, it looks like it's heavily researched, proper facts and figures. Do you plan them out? Are you a plotter or a pantser? Do you make it up as the characters go along?
I am a full-on planner, and the idea of being a pantser stresses me out. I don't understand how people can do it. I'll get a panic attack. Like, I can't plan. I've got spreadsheets and all sorts going on for my books, and yes, they're heavily researched, and that's the only way that I can sort of coordinate my thoughts and get them in a good order and make sure I put everything in, because if I don't put something on my plans, I've forgotten it, because I've got the kids to think about and dinner and their clubs and whatnot. So everything that I want to go in my book has to go in my plan, because there's a very real chance that otherwise it will just be forgotten entirely, and then I'll publish the book and go, oh crikey, he was supposed to die.
Yeah, it reminds me of a friend of mine, actually, Gina Kirkham, Terry, who she killed off a character in chapter 8, whatever it was. And then luckily she found it before it went to the editor. In chapter 23, the character had appeared again. And, you know, because she was just writing on the seat of her pants, basically, and got it all wrong and mixed up. But it was picked up, so she was lucky in the end. But yeah, so it goes all over the place if you're not careful, I suppose, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, I think we something like 80% of the writers we chat to, they do plan things out. I can't get my head around as someone who just sort of thinks, right, is a what if situation, and then just starts writing as though, you know, freestyle, and letting the characters sort of move wherever they want to move. To me, that's like building a house without the foundations around. Could crumble at any time.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like, I go off topic as well. So when I'm talking to people, I would just go on a random tangent. So if I didn't plan, my books would be all over the shop. Like, we'd be talking about World War II and it's a romance novel or something. It would go crazy.
Excellent.
I totally get it. I think I'd be like that, because I have to be structured and plan things. Otherwise, I get mixed up. You know, I'm a bit OCD from that point of view. So you can imagine you've got to be very much the same, especially with 3 young kids running around. Yeah, I'd be manic, absolutely manic. Finally, from me, really, then, we normally ask for one specific piece of advice from, an author. We'll ask them about what would your advice you'd give, what advice would you give to someone who's writing a book for the first time? But you've got that many things going on. You've got singing, these gifts, and your author work. So, generally, what would your advice be to all 3 or all 4, whatever? Who are going out the first, someone for the first time who's getting into music or books or whatever. Yeah.
I think the best piece of advice I could give to you is to be yourself, because it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're writing a book or releasing music. You tend to look at the people on social media and you sort of follow their lead, and you do things the same way they are. You promote yourself in the same way. You try to sort of have the same image. And I don't think that this necessarily works, because then when you do that, you end up fading into the background with all of the other musicians or all of the other authors. And I've never done that. And I've tried to do things my way, the Lisa way. It hasn't always worked out, but as you've seen from my Giphy and Twitter and the support that I've had, it has worked out quite well for me, because I think that by putting my personality out there and doing things my way, regardless of whether it's always the right way to do it, I think that has helped to sort of make me more memorable and make me sort of just stick in people's minds a bit more and have a bit of trust in me that I am that I say that I am, because there's a lot of faking out there. And the other thing is to try not to put pressure on yourself to be fantastic, because I see this every single day. Musicians, authors, people will come to me and they'll go, "It's not fair. I've been on Twitter longer than you have, and I've got half the followers you have. It's not fair. What am I doing wrong?" And I don't think it is necessarily that people are doing anything wrong. It's just that we don't manage our expectations very well, and sometimes we expect more of ourselves than what is possible. Not many people just become famous overnight. It takes years. Some people don't become famous until after they die. That's just the simple truth of it. So I say, don't put that pressure on yourself. Simply just enjoy the ride and just be true to who you are, and then good things will come off of the back of that. And just grasp any opportunity you can do. Things like this are wonderful, because you not only get to meet people and expand that network, but you also get to market yourself. It's your face out there on the internet, so that when people searches your name, it's just an extra thing that comes up, and that just boosts your credibility to your audience.
Great advice. Yeah.
Excellent.
I like it. Good stuff.
Yeah. At least, as I mentioned, Sam's caught up with us, but I've really enjoyed this chat.
Me too.
Good. Maybe you could chat
Really
again when part 2 comes out.
Oh, definitely. That'd be lovely. Yes.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Good stuff.
Thanks for your time. But for now, Lisa, cheers. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye now.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah.